The US dollar has hit a 14-month low, and its gradual decline is causing a stir. China, Russia and other emerging economic powers are now urging an end to the dollar's central role in global commerce. Let's talk more about this tonight. Go live to RT Jenny Grosowski in our Washington studios, joined there by economist Thomas Pally from the New America Foundation. Evening, Dina. What can save the dollar from drowning, then, is the million-dollar question, eh?
It is the million-dollar question, something all Americans want answered. And you're right, the U.S. dollar is falling, but the U.S. keeps on printing more and more money. Now, the Fed and Wall Street is optimistic about an economic recovery, but some experts say that we could see a second depression, that's still a possibility. One of those people, economist Thomas Pally from the New America Foundation, he joins me here today. Thank you so much for being here. So first of all, Wall Street and the Fed are saying that we're going to see economic recovery, but you're saying not so fast. Why is that?
Well, let me first say that we're in a moment of tremendous uncertainty, and it's always hard to predict the future, and it's especially hard now. Wall Street has a genetic propensity to pump up the good news, because good news means more business, more commissions, and so on. And the Fed also has something of an interest to try and restore confidence. My fear is that, in fact, if you really look at the economic situation and you apply a rigorous analysis to it, there are good reasons to think there could be a second dip. And what we're seeing is that Americans have stopped borrowing. And when they stopped borrowing, the economy slowed down, and they're now burdened by debt. So that's why we've had a first step downwards. Now the next step is when they start saving, which actually is like stepping on the brake of the car, slows it down still further, and that then gives you the second dip. And I think it's very important that people be aware of this possibility, because if you have too much optimism, then policymakers can start to take the wrong decisions.
What's going on with the currency? I mean, why is the dollar falling consistently?
Well, the dollar falling is not a bad thing. The part of the problem was that America was consuming too much, importing too much, exporting too little. The way to adjust that situation is to have the dollar fall. In that case, American goods will become slightly cheaper. They can export more. Foreign goods will become slightly more expensive. They'll import less. So I think that's a good factor. Markets are recognizing that. There's some rotation from an investment point of view. People built up a lot of dollar holdings. Now they've decided to rotate out of them. There's one big problem, though, which is causing the fall to be worse, perhaps, than it should be.
And what is that?
That's China.
Well, I mean, speaking of China, countries like China hold treasury bonds. So if the dollar keeps falling, are we going to see a situation where there's going to be a distrust in the dollar and it might lose its position that it currently holds as the world currency?
No, I don't think that's likely. I think the dollar is still, if you think of it, it's like democracy. It's the worst system except for all the rest. Everything else is worse. So therefore, that means you go for the dollar. And that's, of course, why you go for democracy, too. There's no better system. They're lots worse.
That's one of the most interesting comparisons that I've ever heard.
Absolutely. So let me encourage people to be both democratic and also to recognize that the dollar is here to stay. But my point about China is this, and it's a complicated one, and it's important that people understand it. China, as you know, pegs its currency to the dollar. Now, we need an adjustment vis-a-vis China as well as the rest of the world. But now what's going on? China is depreciating with the dollar because it's tied to the dollar. That means other currencies are appreciating more than they should.
That's an
the
interesting
dollar
point.
is falling more against them than it should. That means problems for those other countries. So really, we need to see that the Chinese accelerate the appreciation of their currency, which has been too late in coming and has been too slow also.
Well, I want to thank you for being here and for that analysis. Interesting point you make there. For now, Kevin, back to you in Moscow.
Yeah, as you say, Thomas Pally making some interesting points there. Good to hear it. OK, Dina Grosowski, coming back to you throughout the course of the night. Thanks very much.